Who's there?
Nay, answer me. Stand and unfold yourself.
Long live the king.
Bernardo,
He?
you come most carefully upon your hour?
'Tis now struck 12. Get thee to bed, Francisco.
For this relief much thanks. 'Tis bitter cold, and I am sick at heart.
Have you had quiet guard?
Not a mouse stirring.
Well, good night. If you do meet Horatio and Marcellus, the rivals of my watch, bid them make haste.
I think I hear them. Stand, ho! Who is there?
Friends to this ground.
And liegemen to the Dane.
Give you good night?
Oh, farewell, honest soldier. Who hath relieved you?
Bernardo hath my place. Give you good night?
Alla Bernardo.
Say, what? Is Horatio there?
A piece of him.
Welcome, Horatio. Welcome, good Marcellus.
What? Has this thing appeared again tonight?
I have seen nothing.
Horatio says 'tis but our fantasy, and will not let belief take hold of him, touching this dreaded sight twice seen of us. Therefore I have entreated him along with us to watch the minutes of this night, that if again this apparition come, he may approve our eyes and speak to it.
Tush, tush, 'twill not appear.
Sit down a while, and let us once again assail your ears, that are so fortified against our story, what we have to-night seen.
Well, sit we down, and let us hear Bernardo speak of this.
Last night of all, when yon same star that's westward from the pole has made his course to illume that part of heaven where now it burns, Marcellus and myself, the bell then beating one.
Peace, break thee off. Look where it comes again.
In the same figure like the king's that's dead.
Thou art a scholar. Speak to it, Horatio.
Looks he not like the king? Mark it, Horatio.
Most like. It harrows me with fear and wonder.
It would be spoke to.
Speak to it, Horatio.
What art thou that usurpest this time of night, together with that fair and warlike form in which the majesty of buried Denmark did sometimes march? By heaven, I charge thee, speak.
It is offended.
See, it stalks away.
Stay, speak, speak, I charge thee, speak.
'Tis gone and will not answer.
How now, Horatio, you tremble and look pale. Is not this something more than fantasy? What think you on it?
Before my God, I might not this believe without the sensible and true avouch of my own eyes.
Is it not like the king?
Aye, thou art to thyself. Such the very armor he had on when he the ambitious Norway combated. So frowned he once was when in angry parley he smote the sledded Polacks on the ice. 'Tis strange.
Thus twice before, and jump at this dead hour, with martial stalk hath he gone by our watch.
In what particular thought to work I know not, but in the gross and scope of mine opinion, this body's some strange eruption of our state.
Good now, sit down and tell me, he that knows, why this same strict and most observant watch so nightly toils the subject of the land, and why such daily cast of brazen cannon and foreign mart for implements of war? Why such impress of shipwrights whose sore task does not divide the Sunday from the week? What might be toward that this sweaty haste doth make the night joint laborer with the day? Who is it that can inform me?
That can I. At least the whisper goes so. Our last king, whose image even now appeared to us, was, as you know, by Fortinbras of Norway, thereto picked on by a most emulant pride, dared to this combat, in which our valiant Hamlet, for to this side of our known world esteemed him, did slay this Fortinbras, who by sealed compact, well ratified by law and heraldry, did forfeit with his life all those his lands which he stood seized of to the conqueror. Against the which a moiety competent was gagged by our king, which had returned to the inheritance of Fortinbras, had he been vanquisher, as by the same compart and carriage of this article designed. His fell to Hamlet. Now, sir, young Fortinbras of unimproved metal, hot and full, hath in the skirts of Norway here and there sharked up a list of lawless resolutes, for food and diet to some enterprise that hath a stomach in it, which is no other, as it doth well appear unto our state. But to recover of us, by strong hand and in terms compulsatory, those foresaid lands, so by his father lost. And this, I take it, is the main motive of our preparations, the source of this our watch, and the chief head of this post-haste rummage in the land.
I think it be no other, but even so. Well, may it sort that this portentous figure comes armed through our watch so like the king that was and is the question of these wars.
A mote it is to trouble the mind's eye. In the most high and palmy state of Rome, a little ere the mightiest Julius fell, the graves stood tenantless, and the sheeted dead did squeak and gibber in the Roman streets, as stars with trains of fire and dews of blood, disasters in the sun. And the moist star, upon whose influence Neptune's empire stands, was sick almost to doomsday with eclipse. And even like the precursor of feared events, as harbingers preceding still the fates, and prologues of omens to come. Have heaven and earth together demonstrated unto our climatures and countrymen. But soft, behold, lo, where it comes again! Oh, cross it through, blasphemy! Stay, illusion! If thou hast any sound or use of voice, speak to me. If there be any good to be done, that may to thee do ease and grace me, speak to me. If thou art privy to the country's fate, which happily foreknowing may avoid, oh, speak! Or if thou hast uphoarded in thy life extorted treasure in the room of earth, for which they say you, spirits oft walk in death, speak of it. Stay and speak. Stop it, Marcellus.
Shall I strike it with my partisan?
Do, if it will not stand.
'Tis here.
'Tis here.
'Tis gone. We do it wrong being so majestical to offer it the show of violence, for it is as the air, invulnerable, and our vein blows malicious mockery.
It was about to speak when the cock crew.
And then it started like a guilty thing upon a fearful summons. I have heard the cock, that it is trumpet in the morn, doth with its lofty and shrill-sounding throat awake the god of day, and at his warning, whether in sea or in fire, in earth or in air, to the extravagant and erring spirit hies to his confine and the truth herein. This present object made probation.
It faded on the crowing of the cock. Some say that ever against that season comes wherein our Saviour's birth is celebrated. This bird of dawning singeth all night long, and then they say no spirit dare stir abroad. The nights are wholesome, then no planets strike. No fairy takes nor witch hath power to charm, so hallowed and so gracious is that time.
So I have heard and do in part believe it. But look, the morn in russet mantle clad walks o'er the dew of yon high eastward hill. Break we up our watch, and by my advice let us impart what we have seen tonight unto young Hamlet. For upon my life, this spirit, dumb to us, will speak to him. Do you consent that we shall acquaint him with it, as needful of our loves, fitting of our duty?
Let's do it. I pray, and I this morning know, where we shall find him most convenient.
Though yet of Hamlet, our dear brother's death, the memory be green, and that it us befitted to bear our hearts in grief, and our whole kingdom to be contracted in one brow of woe. Yet so far hath discretion fought with nature, that we, with wisest sorrow, think on him, together with the remembrance of ourselves. Therefore our sometime sister, now our queen, the imperiled jointress to his warlike state, have we, as 'twere with a defeated joy, with an auspicious and a dropping eye, with mirth in funeral and with dearth in marriage, in equal scale weighing delight and dole, taken to wife. Nor have we herein barred your better wisdoms, which have freely gone with this affair along, for all our thanks. Now follows that you know, young Fortinbras, holding a weak supposal of our worth, or thinking by our late dear brother's death, our state to be disjoint and out of frame, colleagued with this dream of his advantage, he hath not failed to pester us with message importing the surrender of those lands lost by his father, with all bonds of law, to our most valiant brother. So much for him. Now for ourself and for this time of meeting. This much the business is. We have here writ to Norway, uncle of young Fortinbras, who impotent and bedrid, scarcely hears of his nephew's purpose to suppress his further gates herein, in that the levies, the lists, and full proportions are all made out of his subject. And we here dispatch you, good Cornelius, and you, Voltiman, for bearers of this greeting to old Norway, giving to you no further personal power to business with the king more than the scope of these dilated articles allow. Farewell, and let your haste commend your duty.
In that and all things will we show our duty.
We doubt it nothing. Heartily, farewell. And now, Laertes, what's the news with you? You told us of some suit. What is it, Laertes? You cannot speak of reason to the Dane and lose your voice. What wouldst thou beg, Laertes? That shall not be my offer, not thy asking. The head is not more native to the heart, the hand more instrumental to the mouth, than is the throne of Denmark to thy father. What wouldst thou have, Laertes?
My dread lord, your leave and favor to return to France, from whence thou willingly I came to Denmark to show my duty in your coronation. Yet now I must confess, that duty done, my thoughts and wishes bend again toward France, and bow them to your grace.
My lord, wrung from me my slow weave by laborsome petition, and at last upon his will I sealed my heart consent. I do beseech you, give him leave to go.
Take thy fair hour, Laertes, time be thine, and thy best graces spend it at thy will. But now, my cousin Hamlet and my son.
A little more than kin and less than kind.
How is it that the clouds still hang on you?
Not so, my lord. I am too much in the sun.
Good Hamlet, cast thy nighted color off, and let thine eye look like a friend on Denmark. Do not forever with thy veiled lids seek for thy noble father in the dust. Thou knowest 'tis common, all that lives must die, passing through nature to eternity.
Aye, madam, it is common.
If it be, why seems it so particular with thee?
Seems, madam? Nay, it is. I know not seems. 'Tis not alone my inky cloth, good mother, nor customary suits of solemn black, nor windy suspiration of forced breath. No, nor the fruitful river in the eye, nor the dejected behavior of the visage. Together with all forms, moods, shapes of grief, that can denote me truly. These indeed seems, for they are actions that a man might play. But I have that within, which passes show. These but the trappings and the suits of woe.
'Tis sweet and commendable in your nature, Hamlet, to give these morning duties to your father. But you must know your father lost a father, that father lost his, and the survivor bound in filial obligation for some term to do obsequious sorrow. But to persever in obstinate condolement is a course of impious stubbornness. 'Tis unmanly grief. It shows a will most incorrect to heaven, a heart unfortified, a mind impatient, an understanding simple and unschooled. For what we know must be and is as common as any the most vulgar thing to sense. Why should we in our peevish opposition take it to heart? Fie, 'tis a fault to heaven, a fault against the dead, a fault to nature, the reason most absurd, whose common theme is death of fathers, and who still hath cried, from the first course till that he that died today, this must be so. We pray you, throw to earth this unprevailing woe, and think of us as your father. For let the world take note. You are the most immediate to our throne, and with no less nobility of love than that which dearest father bears his son, do I impart toward you. For your intent in going back to the school in Wittenberg, it is most retrograde to our desire, and we beseech you, bend you to remain here in the cheer and comfort of our eye, our chiefest courtier, cousin, and our son.
Let not thy mother lose her prayers, Hamlet. I pray thee stay with us. Go not to Wittenberg.
I shall, in all my best, obey you, madam.
Why, 'tis a loving and a fair reply. Be as ourself in Denmark. Madam, come. This gentle and unforced accord of Hamlet sits smiling to my heart, in grace whereof no jock in health that Denmark drinks today, but the common canon to the clouds shall tell, and the kings roused the heavens shall bruit again, re-speaking earthly thunder. Come away.
Oh, that this too sullied flesh would melt, thaw, and resolve itself into a dew, or that the everlasting had not fixed its canon against self-slaughter. Oh God, how weary, stale, flat, and unprofitable seem to me all the uses of this world. Fie on it, all fie. 'Tis unweeded garden that grows to seed, things rank and gross in nature possessed merely, that it should come to this. But 2 months dead, nay, not so much, not 2, so excellent a king that was to this Hyperion, to his daughter, so loving to my mother, that he might not between the winds of heaven visit her face too roughly. Heaven and earth, must I remember? Why, she would hang on him as if increase of appetite had grown or what it fed on. And yet, within a month, let me not think on it, frailty, thy name is woman. A little month or ere these shoes were old, with which he followed my poor father's body. Like Niobe, all tears, why she, even she, oh God, a beast, that once discourse of reason would have mourned longer, married to with my uncle, my father's brother, with no more like my father than I to Hercules. Within a month, ere yet the salt of most unrighteous tears had left a flushing in her gallant eyes, she married. O most wicked speed, to post with such dexterity to incestuous sheets. It is not, nor cannot come to good, but break my heart, for I must hold my tongue.
Hail to your lordship.
Oh, I'm glad to see you well, Horatio. Or do I forget myself?
The same, my lord, and your poor servant ever.
Ah, sir, my good friend, I'll change that name with you. And what make you from Wittenberg, Horatio Marcellus?
My good lord.
I am very glad to see you. Good even, sir. But what, in faith, make you from Wittenberg?
A truant disposition, good my lord.
I would not hear your enemies say so, nor shall you do my ear that violence to make it trustier of your own report against yourself. I know you are no truant, but what is your affair in Elsinore? We'll teach you to drink deep ere you depart.
My lord, I come to see your father's funeral.
I prithee, do not mock me, fellow student. I think it was to see my mother's wedding.
Indeed, my lord, it followed hard upon.
Ah, thrift, Horatio. The funeral bacon meats did codily furnish forth the marriage tables. Would I had met my dearest foe in heaven, wherever I had seen that day, Horatio. My father, methinks I see my father.
Where, my lord?
Oh, in my mind's eye, Horatio.
I saw him once. He was a goodly king.
He was a man. Take him for all in all. I shall not look upon his like again.
My lord, I think I saw him yesternight.
Saw who?
My lord, the king, your father.
The king, my father?
Season your admiration for a while with an attentive ear till I may deliver, upon the witness of these gentlemen, this marvel to you.
For God's love, let me hear.
2 nights together had these gentlemen, Marcellus and Bernardo, on their watch, in the dead waste and middle of the night, been thus encountered, a figure like your father, armed at point, exactly cap and pie, appears before them, and with solemn march goes slow and stately by them. Thrice he walked by their oppressed and fear surprised eyes, with his truncheon's length, while they, distilled almost to jelly with the act of fear, stand dumb and speak not to him. This to me in dreadful secrecy impart they did, and I with them the 3rd night kept watch, whereas they had delivered, both in time, form of the thing, each word made true and good. The apparition comes. I knew your father. These hands are not more like.
But where was this?
My lord, upon the platform where we watch.
Did you speak to it?
My lord, I did, but answer made it none. Yet once methought it lifted up its head and did address itself to motion, like as would speak. But even then the morning cock crew loud, and the same sound it shrunk in haste away and vanished from our sight.
'Tis very strange.
As I do live, my honored lord, 'tis true. And we did think it writ down in our duty to let you know of it.
Indeed, sirs. But this troubles me. Hold you the watch tonight?
We do,
My
my lord.
lord.
Armed, you say?
Armed,
Armed,
my lord.
From top to toe?
My lord,
My lord,
from head
from
to
head
foot.
to foot.
Then saw you not his face?
Oh, yes, my lord, he wore his beaver up.
What? Looked he frowningly?
A countenance more in sorrow than in anger.
Pale or red?
A very pale.
And fixed his eyes upon you?
Most constantly.
I would I had been there.
It would have much amazed you.
Very like. Stayed it long?
While one with moderate hastings might tell 100.
Longer, longer.
Not when I saw it.
His beard was grizzled, no?
It was as I have seen it in his life, sabled silver.
I will watch tonight. Perchance 'twill walk again.
I will warrant it.
If it assume my noble father's person, I'll speak to it, though hell itself should gape and bid me to hold my peace. I pray you all, if you have hitherto concealed this sight, let it be tenable in your silence still. And whatsoever else shall have tonight, give it an understanding, but no tongue. I will requite your loves. So fare you well. Upon the platform, twixt 11 and 12, I'll visit you.
Our
Our
duty,
duty to your honor.
Your loves as mine to you. Farewell. My father's spirit in arms? All is not well. I doubt some foul play. Would the night were come. Till then, sit still, my soul. Foul deeds will rise, though all the earth o'erwhelm them to men's eyes.